Welcome. If you recall, the ego is often under severe stress trying to balance the wants of the id against the prohibitions of the superego, and this stress comes out in what Freud called defense mechanisms. That's supposed to be plural. These are certain patterns that come out as people adapt their psychic reality to the external, factual reality of their experience. They are part of the psychopathology, when things go wrong, psychopathology of everyday life, in which people delude themselves, satisfy id promptings, punish themselves through superego wishes, and through it all achieve compromises thanks to the intercession of the ego. So let's talk about these defense mechanisms. Repression is always maintained unconsciously. Whatever it is, the thing that is anxiety provoking is completely pushed out of consciousness. It is repressed. A very primitive defense mechanism. When I see this, I get usually fairly worried about the person. Denial, the person just said, they deny the reality. This we see more often. We see this, for example, with people that have disorders in eating or substance abuse or alcoholism. They just deny that they have a problem to begin with. And next defense mechanism is displacement. And that is where I redirect, or whoever it is, redirects a concern from one realm to another. So in other words, an example of displacement is my boss yells at me and so I yell at my kid. We see this all the time. Substitution is replacing of one object for another. So for example, an old bachelor collects a series of pretty boxes for the collection of beautiful women he never possessed. Projection is, I'm going to get to sublimation at the end. Projection is when one attributes internal fantasies to the outside world. So I see I see a man walking towards me, and I project my own fantasies that this man is very aggressive. And I say, that guy is hostile, even though I'm only projecting my own fantasies onto him. He is completely neutral. I am projecting my internal world onto this person. Reaction formation is when people seem to favor an action or point of view diametrically in opposition to what they wish would occur. So you get someone who has, let's say, homosexual strivings, joins the Marine Corps in order to justify the opposite type of worldview. Rationalization is one finds an acceptable reason to justify an action that is really prompted by a completely different, usually irrational and emotional motive. We see this all the time when people make rationalizations about things they did that don't make any sense. They come up with some rational reason of why they did it, even though that's not really the real reason. Isolation. A disturbed person may be able to keep a horrible idea in mind without showing any emotion. So someone who was a witness to a horrific murder, the ego may just isolate that memory and there will be no emotion connected with it whatsoever. And that is to protect the person's inner state from complete collapse. Compensation is when one emphasizes his or her personal strengths in one area to shift focus from failure in another area. Identification is when one associates with people or groups that are of higher status in order to increase one's own status. intellectualization is describing painful or emotional personal events in very academic or philosophical terms. So if a loved one just died, one starts speaking of, I don't know, ashes, ashes, we all are going to die eventually, and doesn't really feel the emotion of this loved one's death. Regression is another primitive defense mechanism, reverting to childlike behavior to get the attention you got when you were younger or to get your way. And lastly, sublimation is using exercise or physical activity as a substitute for sexual energies. Sublimation is considered a very positive defense mechanism. So I see something that either provokes anxiety in me because it's sexual or aggressive, and I respond to that by painting a picture or writing a song or playing drums or going out for a 10-mile run. So sublimation, again, is a defense mechanism that most of us would think is a pretty good thing, but it's still a defense mechanism. Thank you very much.